Hare Krishna. So, we welcome you all to this reading session on Krishna book, chapter number 22. Today we'll be covering chapter number 22, and tomorrow we'll be conducting our test on chapter 21 and 22 combined. So, let's begin this discussion with this wonderful prayer from Sri Chaitanya Charitamrit. Krishna, 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 Krishna. Krishna, 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 He Krishna, 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 He Krishna, 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 Rakshamam. Krishna, 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 Pahimam. Ram Raghav, Ram Raghav, Ram Raghav, Rakshamam. Krishna Keshav, Krishna Keshav, Krishna Keshav Pahimam. The Pranam Mantra of Srila Prabhupada. Namah Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Pristhaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swamin Iti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Desha Tarine Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So, yesterday we had discussed chapter number 21, where we had seen that how the gopis, the young gopis, were attracted towards the Lord by virtue of hearing the sound of his flute. And we had also seen that how the different animals, trees are reciprocating with the Lord while he goes to the forest. And it was a vivid description of how the inhabitants of Vrindavan not in who are in the Shantras, how do they interact with the Lord? How do they reciprocate with Him? So today we'll be reading this chapter, chapter 22, stealing the garments of the unmarried gopi girls. So let's start reading. According to the Vedic civilization, unmarried girls from 10 to 14 years of age are supposed to worship either Lord Shiva or Goddess Durga in order to get a nice husband. But the unmarried girls of Vrindavan were already attracted by the beauty of Krishna. They were, however, engaged in the worship of Goddess Durga in the beginning of the Hemant season, just prior to winter season. The first month of Hemant is Agrahayana, that is October November, and at that time all the unmarried gopis of Vrindavan began to worship Goddess Durga with a vow. They first ate Havishyana, a kind of food prepared by boiling together moong dal and rice without any spices or turmeric. According to the Vedic injunction, this kind of food is recommended to purify the body before one enacts a ritualistic ceremony. All the unmarried gopis in Vrindavan used to daily worship goddess Katyayani early in the morning after taking a bath in the river Yamuna. Katyayani is another name for goddess Durga. The goddess is worshipped by preparing a doll made of sand from the bank of the Yamuna. It is recommended in the Vedic scriptures that a deity may be made from different kinds of material elements. It can be painted, made of metal, made of jewels, made of wood, earth, or stone, or can be conceived within the heart of the worshipper. The Mayavadi philosopher takes all these forms of the deity to be imaginary, but actually they are accepted in the Vedic scriptures to be identical with the Supreme Lord or a respective demigod. So, what we learnt over here is that the gopis wanted to have Krishna as their husband, and therefore they were worshipping goddess Katyayani, which is another name for goddess Durga. And what was their schedule? That they used to prepare a dish which is called Havishyana, and they used to go to the Yamuna to take a bath early in the morning, and then they used to worship. Uh, First, they used to take a bath in the Yamuna, and then they used to go to worship goddess Katyayani. So, what was the intention in their mind, that they wanted to get Krishna as their husband, and what was the method of doing it? So, they used to prepare a doll out of the sand of the Yamuna, and then they used to worship it. So, it has been told that, according to Vedic scriptures, a deity can be made of how many things? So it can be made of metal, or jewels, or wood, earth, or stone, or even it can be conceived within the heart of the worshipper. So this is a very important aspect to be learned, that the Mayavadi philosophers do not accept that that the deity can have that God can have a form. They are strictly against idol worship, but Vedic scriptures tell us that the deity of the Lord or the demigod is as good and is considered identical, but provided they are properly established. They are established with proper rituals. The unmarried gopis used to prepare the deity of goddess Durga and worship it with chandan, pulp, garlands, incense, lamps, and all kinds of presentations, fruit, grains, and twigs of plants. After worshipping, it is accustomed to pray for some benediction. The unmarried girls used to pray with great devotion to Goddess Katyayani, addressing her as follows: O supreme external energy of the personality of Godhead, O supreme mystic power, O supreme controller of this material world, O Goddess, please be kind to us and arrange for our marriage with the son of Maharaj Krishna, of Nand Maharaj Krishna. The Vaishnavas generally do not worship any demigods. Sri Narottam Das Thakur has strictly forbidden all worship of the demigods for anyone who wants to advance in pure devotional service. Yet, the gopis who are beyond compare in their affection for Krishna were seen to worship Durga. The worshippers of demigods sometimes mention that the gopis worshipped goddess Durga, but we must understand the purpose of the gopis. Generally, people worship goddess Durga for some material benediction. Here, the gopis prayed to the goddess to become wives of Lord Krishna. The purport is that if Krishna is the center of activity, a devotee can adopt any means to achieve that goal. The gopis could adopt any means to satisfy or serve Krishna. That was the super excellent characteristic of the gopis. They worshipped goddess Durga completely for 1 month in order to have Krishna as their husband. Every day they prayed for Krishna, the son of Nand Maharaj, to become their husband. Early in the morning, the gopis used to go to the bank of the Jamuna to take a bath. They would assemble together and, holding one another's hand, loudly sing the wonderful pastimes of Krishna. It is an old system among Indian girls and women that when they take a bath in the river, they place their garments on the bank and dip into the water completely naked. The portion of the river where the girls and women bathe was strictly prohibited to any male, and this is still the system. The Supreme Personality of Godhead, knowing the minds of the unmarried young gopis, blessed them with their desired objective. They had prayed for Krishna to become their husband, and Krishna wanted to fulfill their desires. So, what did we learn here? That although demigod worship is very strictly prohibited, as mentioned, Srinatham Das Thakur has strictly forbidden it. But still, the gopis, they wanted to worship Krishna. They can go to any extent to serve Krishna by, even if it takes to worship a demigod, they will do it. So uh, if a girl wants a good husband, she worships goddess Durga. So they are worshipping goddess Durga or goddess Katyayani. For what purpose? Just to become the wives of Lord Krishna. So a devotee, it's said that the purport is that if Krishna is the center of our activity, then a devotee can adopt any means to achieve that goal. And we also see that, we have also heard from many senior devotees that we should never disrespect the demigods. They are also very exalted personalities. Goddess Durga is the caretaker of this whole material universe. She is a devotee of the Lord. When we go to Sri Navdeep Dham, so we see that she is present there as Simantini, Mother Simantini, Simantini Devi, and she took the lotus dust from the lotus feet of Lord Chaitanya and put her in her Simanta. So therefore, the Parvati Devi or goddess Durga, she is a wonderful Vaishnavi. But only thing is that people approach her for material benedictions. But if even if we go to any temple, or if we have a chance to visit any temple of any demigod, we should always pray to them that they should award us devotional service. They help us in advancing in bhakti. So if the goal is Krishna, then no problem. We can pray to any demigod also that we please help us to achieve Krishna's lotus feet. So now next thing is being told is that the gopis used to go to take a bath in the morning in the Jamuna, and they used to keep their garments on the bank of the Jamuna. So it's a custom that women, they used to take bath in such an area, and that was prohibited for the men to go. So now Krishna, he knew that all of them have a desire. So let's see what Lord Krishna does now. At the end of the month, so this whole process of Katyayani Vrat was for a duration of one whole month. At the end of the month, Krishna, along with his friends, appeared on the scene. Another name of Krishna is Yogeshwara, or master of all mystic powers. So by practicing meditation, the yogi can study the psychic movement of other men, and certainly Krishna could understand the desire of the gopis. Appearing on the scene, Krishna immediately collected all the garments of the gopis and climbed up into a nearby tree, and with a smiling face began to speak to them. So Lord Krishna knew that this is their desire, and he came over there. He took up all the garments of the gopis while they were bathing, and now he climbed up a tree, and now he spoke to the gopis. My dear girls, he said, please come here one after another and pray for your garments and then take them away. I am not joking with you. I am just telling the truth. I have no desire to play any joke with you, for you are tired from observing the regulative principles for 1 month by worshipping goddess Katyayani. Please do not come here all at once. Come alone. I want to see each one of you in your complete beauty, for you all have thin waists. I have requested you to come alone. Now, please comply. So, Lord told them that you have to come alone, not in a group, and you have to come out and take your garments. When the girls in the water heard such joking words from Krishna, they began to look at one another and smile. So they saw each other and they were smiling. They were very joyous to hear such a request from Krishna because they were already in love with him. Out of shyness, they looked at one another, but they could not come out of the water because they were naked. Due to remaining in the water for a long time, they felt cold and were shivering. Yet, upon hearing the pleasing, joking words of Govinda, their minds were perturbed with great joy. They told Krishna, dear son of Nanda Maharaj, please do not joke with us in that way. It is completely unjust to us. You are a very respectable boy because you are the son of Nanda Maharaj and you are very dear to us. But you should not play this joke on us because now we are all shivering from the cold water. Kindly deliver our garments immediately, otherwise, we shall suffer. Then they began to appeal to Krishna with great submission. Dear Sham Sundar, they said, we are all your eternal servitors. Whatever you ordered us to do, we are obliged to perform without hesitation because we consider it our religious duty. But if you insist on putting this proposal onto us, which is impossible to perform, then certainly will have to go to Nand Maharaj and lodge a complaint against you. If Nand Maharaj does not take action, then we will go and tell King Kamsa about your misbehavior. So they are trying different means to persuade Krishna that don't put such conditions before us. And now they are saying that although we are your devotees, we are obliged to do anything you want. But if you ask such a proposal, then we'll go to Nand Maharaj. If he does not take action on you, we'll go to Kamsa. So, upon hearing this appeal by the unmarried gopis, Krishna answered, My dear girls, if you think that you are my eternal servitors and you are always ready to execute my order, then my request is that, with your smiling faces, you please come here alone, one after another, and take your garments. So Lord Krishna is not at all budged. If you do not come here, however, and if you lodge complaints with my father, I shall not care anyway. For I know my father is old and cannot take any action against me. So Lord Krishna is so confident that, "ठीक है, you go and tell anybody. I am not worried. If you want to complain to my father, you go." So because he knows that anyhow they will have to fetch their garments before they go for complaining. When the gopis saw that Krishna was strong and determined, they had no other alternative but to abide by his order. One after another, they came out of the water, but because they were completely naked, they tried to cover their nakedness by placing their left hand over their pubic area. In that posture, they were all shivering. Their simple presentation was so pure that Lord Krishna immediately became pleased with them. All the unmarried gopis who prayed to Katyayani to have Krishna as their husband were thus satisfied. A woman cannot be naked before any male except her husband. So they wanted to accept Krishna as their husband, and a woman cannot be naked before any male except her husband. So Lord Krishna granted this desire in this way. The unmarried gopis desired Krishna and as their husband, and he fulfilled their desire in this way. Being pleased with them, he took their garments on his shoulders and began to speak as follows: My dear girls, you have committed a great offense by going naked in the river Jamuna. Because of this, the predominating deity of the Jamuna, Varun Dev, that is the uh, presiding deity of water, Varun Dev, has become displeased with you. Please, therefore, just touch your foreheads with folded palms and bow down before demigod Varun in order to be excused from this offensive act. The gopis were very simple souls, and whatever Krishna said, they took to be true. In order to be freed from the wrath of Varun Dev, wrath means anger, as well as to fulfill the desired end of their woes and ultimately to please their worshipable Lord, Krishna, they immediately abided by his order. Thus they became the greatest lovers of Krishna and his most obedient servitors. So we can see over here that it was the desire of the gopis to accept Krishna as their husband, and Krishna wanted to fulfill that desire, and it was fulfilled in this particular way. And another thing which we can learn from this pastime is that Lord Krishna is the master of everyone. We all are Prakriti, and Lord is Purusha. So many times people misunderstand this pastime that, oh, what is happening, what did Krishna do, this was a very bad act. But what we can learn over here is that he's the supreme personality of God, that he's the Param Purusha, and we all are Prakriti. Although we may be in male bodies or female bodies, but we all are Prakriti. We are the Lord is the enjoyer and we are the enjoyed. So there's nothing wrong, because Lord Krishna is completely pure. He just wanted to fulfill the desire of his devotees. Nothing can compare with the Krishna consciousness of the gopis. Actually, the gopis did not care for Varuna or any other demigod. They only wanted to satisfy Krishna. Krishna became ingratiated and satisfied by the simple dealings of the gopis, and he immediately delivered their respective garments one after another. Although Krishna cheated the young unmarried gopis and made them stand naked before him and enjoyed joking words with them, and although he treated them just like dolls and stole their garments, they were still pleased with him and never lodged any complaints against him. This attitude of the gopis is described by Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu when he prays, My dear Lord Krishna, you may embrace me or trample me under your feet. You may make me broken hearted by never being present before me. Whatever you like, you can do because you have complete freedom to act. But in spite of all your dealings, you are my Lord eternally, and I have no other worshipable object. This is the attitude of the gopis towards Krishna. And we had learned in the previous chapter that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu also tells that the best method which anyone can worship the Supreme Lord is the path which is shown by the gopis. So Lord Krishna was pleased with them, and since they all desired to have him as their husband, he told them, My dear well behaved girls, I know of your desire for me and why you worshipped goddess Katyayani, and I completely approve of your action. Anyone whose full consciousness is always absorbed in me, even if in lust, is elevated. So it was previously told that they were they had lusty desires in their heart to have Krishna as their husband, right? And Lord says that even if a person is absorbed in my thoughts, even because of lust, he is elevated. As a fried seed cannot fructify, so any desire in connection with my loving service cannot produce any fruitive result as an ordinary karma. So, very wonderful example is being given. If you take a seed and you fry it, a normal seed can fructify if you put it in the soil and you water it. But if you fry a seed, it will not fructify. So similarly, if somebody has a desire in relationship to the Lord, then it will not generate karma as an ordinary. It will not generate any fruitive result, just like in ordinary karma, because what is the center of that desire? What is the center of that activity? Lord Krishna is in the center. There is a statement in the Brahma Samhita, Karman nirdhati kintu ch bhakti bhajam. Everyone is bound by his fruitive activities, but the devotees, because they work completely for the satisfaction of the Lord, suffer no reactions. Similarly, the gopis' attitude towards Krishna, although seemingly lusty, should not be considered to be like the lusty desires of ordinary women. The reason is explained by Krishna himself. Activities in devotional service to Krishna are transcendental to any fruitive result. So it's very simple to understand that everybody in this world is affected by the six deformities: lust, anger, greed. So, lust, everybody is affected by lust or desire to enjoy the opposite sex. So, it's not only that it's being told lust is as of men or women, it's applicable on both. But if somebody is doing activities in devotional service, then it is always transcendental, and seemingly even if somebody approaches Lord Krishna with a mood, with a desire of lust, even that person will get purified. So very simple example, what Srila Prabhupada explains is that the sunshine is so pure that even if it falls on urine and stool, it doesn't mean that sunshine will get impure. The stool and the urine, it will get purified, right? If any place there is lot of dirt and stool and urine, dirty things are kept, if sunshine falls on that area, it will get purified. Not that the sunshine will become impure or the sun becomes impure. So even if somebody approaches the Lord with a lusty desire, he will get purified. My dear gopis, Krishna continued, your desire to have me as your husband will be fulfilled because it is with this desire that you worshipped goddess Katyayani. I promise you that during the next autumn season, you shall be able to meet with me and you shall enjoy me as your husband. So, if it is your desire, I will fulfill your desire when in the next autumn season, means next year, and you will be able to enjoy me as your husband. Later, Krishna, in the company of his cowherd boyfriends, took shelter of the shade of some trees and became very happy. Thus, he addressed the inhabitants of Vrindavan: my dear Stoka Krishna, my dear Varuthapa, my dear Bhadrasena, my dear Sudama, my dear Subala, my dear Arjuna, my dear Vishala, my dear Rishabha. So these are all the names of Lord Krishna's friends. So before also we had learnt a few, and now we are learning approximately 6 7 names here. Just look at these most fortunate trees of Vrindavan. They have dedicated their lives to the welfare of others. Individually, they are tolerating all kinds of natural disturbances such as hurricanes, torrents of rain, scorching heat, and piercing cold. They are very careful to relieve our fatigue and give us shelter. My dear friends, I think they are glorified in this birth as trees. They are so careful to give shelter to others that they are like noble, highly elevated, charitable men who never deny charity to one who approaches them. So Lord Krishna is glorifying the trees of Vrindavan, that they are accepting all kinds of difficulties, but they are still very charitable, highly elevated, noble men Whosoever approaches them, they will give him charity, despite accepting all kinds of, tolerating all kinds of disturbances in life. No one is denied shelter by these trees. They supply various kinds of facilities to human society, such as leaves, flowers, fruit, shade, roots, bark, flavor extracts, and fuel. They are a perfect example of noble life. They are like a noble person who has sacrificed everything possible, his body, mind, activities, intelligence, and words for the welfare of all living entities. Thus, the Supreme Personality of Godhead walked on the bank of the Jamuna, touching the leaves of the trees and fruits, flowers, and twigs, and praising their glorious welfare activities. Different people may accept certain welfare activities to be beneficial for human society according to their own views, but the welfare activity that can be rendered to people in general for eternal benefit is the spreading of the Krishna consciousness movement. Everyone should be prepared to propagate this movement. As instructed by Lord Chaitanya, one should be humbler than the grass on the ground and more tolerant than the tree. The toleration of the trees explained by Lord Krishna himself, and those who are engaged in the preaching of Krishna consciousness should learn from the teachings of Lord Krishna and Lord Chaitanya through their direct disciplic succession. So, what is Srila Prabhupada telling us? Very nice example is being given that the life of a tree is a perfect example of noble life. That a person, he's so he's dedicated his life for the welfare of others, and people do different kind of welfare activities, but what is the best welfare activity? To connect a person back to his father. What is that? To to help somebody go for the eternal benefit. What is that? Spreading of Krishna consciousness, to tell them that we do not actually belong, this is not our original home. This is this is a place where we have been put in to reform our mentality, to uh, to modify, to transform our consciousness from the enjoying mentality to serving mentality. And everybody should, Prabhupada is writing that everybody should be prepared to propagate this movement. And by what kind of attitude one has to keep? One has to keep the attitude of like a tree, that he's always giving, tolerating, but he's preaching the Krishna consciousness to everybody, and we can learn it from Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and through their disciplic succession. While passing down the forest of of Vrindavan on the bank of the Jamuna, Krishna sat down at a beautiful spot and allowed the cows to drink the cold and transparent water of the Jamuna. Being fatigued, the cowherd boys, Krishna and Balaram, also drank. After seeing the young gopis bathe in the Jamuna, Krishna passed the rest of the morning with the boys. Thus ends the Bhaktivedanta purport of the 22nd chapter of Krishna stealing the garments of the unmarried gopi girls. So, we'll be stopping our discussion over here. So, we have discussed two chapters today and yesterday. So, tomorrow will be our test at 8:30 p.m. So, we wish you all the best for tomorrow's exam. And we would certainly like to know your feedback, that if in case you are finding any difficulty, you can please do send us a WhatsApp message, or you can write to us at krishnabukquiz@gmail.com. We'll be certainly happy to help you. Thank you very much. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Ananta Koti Vaishnav Vrinda ki jai, Nitai Gaur Premanande, Hari Hari Bol.